Welcome, Carm Capriato, the Service Aftermarkets podcast pioneer with the gold standard of aftermarket business podcasts. Join me for Aftermarket Insights as we advance the aftermarket. And as always, know that you'll learn just one thing. Find us on your favorite podcast listening app and remarkableresults.biz or on my YouTube channel. To all my great listeners here on the Aftermarket Radio Network, it's Carm Capriato, Remarkable Results Radio. Almost 10 years into this thing in March. It's just an honor to you allow me, my voice, and all the great people that come on the show into your world, into your life, into your business to work on a bunch of things. Hey, take your auto care center to the next level, the gold level, with the NAPA Auto Care Gold Certified Program. This program is for the best of the best who can provide a consistent consumer experience and earn the trust of returning and new customers. Talk to your NAPA sales representative about how you can become a gold certified shop. Hey, for over 30 years, NAPA Trax has made selecting the right shop management system easy by offering the best, most comprehensive SMS in the industry. We'll prove to you that Trax is the single best shop management system in the business. Find NAPA Trax on the web at napatracs.com. Also, thanks to aftermarketmanagementnetwork.com for information that can help you move your business ahead, and for the free and informative laborratetracker.com. I've got a great guest today. Let me introduce him to you. Connor Tracy. And maybe if you see the beads and you've ever been to a conference, I don't even have to tell you, although you can see his name on his shirt. Director of Partner Development at KUKUI Corporation. Connor, you've been a friend for a long time. We see you at shows all the time. And every time you and I we go off to the side with a drink or a cocktail, or we just shoot the crap. And then I'd say, this is good stuff. You got to come on my show. So here you is. Connor, although he looks like a corporate executive, Connor has been around the horn. You've owned your own shop, am I right?
For a short time, yeah, had a small shop. I also did some detailing. Most of my experience was running big box and corporate shops. I've been around this industry since I was a little kid, really, with working in a family backyard shop. So
yeah, but I want you to tell a story that you told me about missing a homecoming.
Yeah.
Okay. And the reason that I want you to tell that story is I think it's going to resonate with 70% of the audience. And I want them to hear it, and I want them to feel your pain, your story. Tell me.
Yeah. So one of the last shops that I ran was for a big box retailer, big, high volume, 10-bay shop. I opened it from brand new. We were very blessed to build that to about a $4 million a year business. One thing is, I came into this industry on a professional level, kind of early 2000s, and we were really still kind of old guard then. It was kind of started out as a technician, and not long after that moved into the sales and management ranks. And I grew up in a world of dictatorial shop manager and shop runner and business owner and that kind of stuff. And I was a person that I felt the need to control every aspect of my business. I needed to have my hands in it because I thought if I had my hands in it, then I could make it better. It's very ego driven with that. So the situation that Carm's referencing, and I talk about it in some of the classes, especially when I have some classes that I talk about delegation and the need and the actual critical level of importance for delegating and engaging our teams. A situation came up. My oldest son, he's now 23 and a service manager at a dealership. He's serving the industry as well. Crazy thought for a kid who grew up in a shop, but it was his junior year and it was homecoming. I had worked over 90 days in a row, with the exception of Sundays off, almost open to close every day. I was a guy who worked 80 plus hours a week. And I had scheduled it. It was homecoming, and my wife came to me and his girlfriend came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, we're doing homecoming pictures. You need to be here at this time. I don't care what's happening. You need to be there." Okay, no problem. So I go, and as we pull up to the house, to his girlfriend's house for homecoming pictures, I get a call on my cell phone. And this would happen often if I would try to leave the shop. But, "Hey, boss man, we had a problem. Something caught fire. Someone panicked and then backed that on fire into another not on fire." So I had to leave. So there's my son's junior homecoming pictures, have mom, his girlfriend at the time, no dad. I got home that night after quite literally putting out the fires. And my wife just looked at me and she's like, "That's not good enough. That's not we need you. You're our guy, and that's not good enough. I had to do some soul searching. So I reached out to some people who had been around a lot longer than me, some mentors of mine. And I just said, hey, like, I've got these problems. Like, I'm hiring really, really talented people, but for some reason they're disengaged and they're leaving, or they're not happy. And the guy who I reached out to goes, dude, it's you. What do you mean? He's like, you're really good at what you do, but you don't let anybody else be good at what they do. He's like, hire the best people and then get the hell out of the way. And that was my problem, is I just didn't empower my people. So when I wasn't there, everything fell apart. And when I changed that viewpoint, it changed everything. People became engaged. The shop went to new levels. There was days where they looked at me and they were like, dude, go fishing. You don't need to be here. Get out of here.
Yep. You know, you think you're engaging your people, and in many cases, you're not. And that was, and again, if we've been around the horn enough, we've made money, lost money, made money, lost money, hired, fired, all these things in our incredible life as shop owners. One of the things that hits you upside and over the head, in your particular case, it was the wife, it was the family commitment, it was all that time that you're wasting. I get the micromanagement part. I'm a little bit like that, but I realize that I can't continue. You can't, period. You cannot continue. Last night, I was with a group of shop owners, and I started to hear stories I wasn't happy about from these late 30s something owners. I'm the final Charlie Fix-It guy. You know, I'll go out to the parking lot and do something for the team, or support this or do that. We're listening. Some of the seasoned guys that have been there and done that are saying they don't get it.
You can disable by enabling. You know, the analogy that I was given as I was working through this process, and my wife is brilliant. She has these viewpoints that are amazing. She's just looked at me. She's like, it's like, you know, when you were teaching the kids how to ride a bike, imagine you were still running alongside of them, holding onto the handlebar. They're going to fall because you're holding onto the damn handlebar.
Great analogy.
You got to send them down the hill.
You got to brush a knee as the person who needs to jump in and make those decisions. And you can't be there with the sling. Oh, I'm so sorry that broke here. Let me rub it. Let me put the sling on it. You didn't get where you are without, you know, hard knocks, without injury.
My first shop I managed, I was 20 years old. I didn't know anything. I was 20 years old. I couldn't even go buy a drink. And I was running a team of 14 people with 14 bays. Like, you want to talk about like drinking from the fire hose? And I didn't have anybody there micromanaging me. So what happened was that I felt that I just needed to be the guy because I just was mature in that experience. And that's that level. It really is growing as a leader, is maturing enough to understand when you can be disabling by thinking you're enabling. You're the smartest guy in the room. If you're the smartest guy in the room, the old saying is you got to find a new room, right?
Yeah, that's right. And the word injury that I said just a little bit ago wasn't about getting physically injured. It was about all the tough things you have to learn as a leader. You also know and believe that sometimes your people have quit, but they haven't told you. You called it quiet quitting, and I've heard that in the past. And part of this, I'm the guy, I'm the micromanager. Some of your people will just, you don't see it, but they're standing there with their arms crossed saying, okay, go for it, Connor. Just, yeah, okay. No problem. Do it. Even though I think I can, and you've taught me how to, and I should be more proactive, you don't want me to do this because you're always in my stuff.
Or you tell me you want me to take ownership in this business, but I'm not giving you the opportunity to take ownership.
Great. You guys got to act like owners. You got to act like me. Oh, I don't think that.
And then, hey, what are you doing? Guess what? When you're the owner, there's no what are you doing. Sometimes we wish there was a what are you doing. There's not, right?
How do you learn to bite your lip? How do you learn not to listen to answer, but to listen to learn? That, do you have to get beat on the head enough times, or do you have to literally go to a leadership seminar? Do you have to listen to podcasts and all these great stories that we tell? How do you cross the line, Connor?
I mean, for me, I sat my team down and I just looked at them and said, guys, this isn't working for me and this isn't working for you. Give it to me. I want you to voice every bit of it. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to take notes. And then we're going to come up with a plan of action to fix it, but it's going to be us because this has been me. And I've been pushing a wet rope up a hill, and that's not going to work. And they did. They gave it to me. I was afraid that it was going to kind of bottle up like, nope.
Did it hurt? Did it hurt?
It did, because there was things that I thought in my mind were like rock solid that I could, take to the bank, and they weren't,
You thought you were good. So I love, please take this away. Connor just said something very powerful about a minute ago. He said, from me to us. From me to us. What a great way to start a meeting out, saying, I got to get out of my own way. I do believe that you need to have an owner mentality, but I've never allowed you to figure it out, to exercise it. From me to us. Take one memory from that meeting about saying, Connor, you need to stop doing this and doing more of that. Do you remember any one thing?
A lot of it was just letting them make their own decisions. Like, no, you don't need to run this by me. You first and foremost, and that was the first question when I reached out to that mentor. He's like, how many of these things are like going to make or break your business? None. Okay, then why is it that important? If it's not going to make or break the business, but it could improve because you let somebody else take the reins, why aren't you doing it? You're just driving yourself nuts. I had mistook tasks for servant leadership, and servant leadership is critical, right? If I'm not there to serve the people that I work with, that work for me, to empower them to do the best possible job that they can do, then I'm holding them back. Well, what I had foolishly thought is by getting in and doing these tasks for them, I thought I was helping. Really, what I was doing was holding them back from growing their skill set, from being more engaged, from having that ownership in what they were doing. And that's what made them feel important. If they had to come to me with a customer complaint to deal with it, then they didn't get to take ownership in that experience for that customer. They had to come to me with approval to make a customer service decision or to whatever it's going to be, to warranty a tire or whatever it's going to be. How important do I feel within the business? I'm just somebody here ticking boxes, right? I'm just a name and a number. I'm easily replaced. I'm an order taker. We always talk, we don't ever want to hire an order taker. That's like the dirtiest word when we talk to hiring, right? We want somebody who's engaged and dynamic and able to make decisions on their own. And then we don't let them do those things. That's the situation I'd put myself in. And that was the first thing the team said. They said, hey, dude, just let us do our job. Okay. What does that mean to you guys?
Yeah.
And they were like, listen, we know what is right and what's wrong because you taught us and you show us, you lead by good example. It's not like that I was being overbearing. I wasn't the yell and scream guy. I wasn't that's not what it was, but give me enough rope to bump my head, give me enough rope to skin my knee, and I'm going to learn from it. And I had to sit back and think, and I was like, well, yeah, that's what got me here is I screwed up everything 6 ways at 20 years old. What do you know about anything, let alone how to run a business or the world? I was just a kid who had grown up fixing cars with my godfather and just decided that long term wasn't what I wanted to do, is to stay a technician, and had an opportunity to move into management ranks and do these things. So
where was the training that you should have been given to lead a place? Because okay, here's the processes and the systems, and I get it, but there's so much more that has to do with the human element, the leadership side.
Well, and there's having a personality type that's a leader. And that's what we see in our industry, right? These are people that have come predominantly from being technicians to then being business owners, right? We're a very unique industry where we don't have a lot of people come from other professional ranks into our industry to own these, especially with independent shops. These are people that have taken on a leadership role. Typically, they were the A tech within their shop. They were that guy, and now they've gone into ownership and leadership. So there's a difference between having a leadership personality type, somebody who's willing to stand on their own, to put their neck out, to be the person out in front and take the hits, to being a person who is able to engage and empower. And that's the difference between having a leadership personality and having the skills to be a leader.
The NAPA Now event is a national ownership workshop for our valued AutoCare members, centered around business building training from industry leaders. Now, it's not just about owning a shop, it's about owning your future. Join NAPA April 15th through the 17th, 2025 at the Venetian Resort in the heart of Las Vegas, known for its vibrancy, energy, and entrepreneurial spirit. At the event, ignite growth through business building masterclasses from leaders across multiple industries focused on expanding business opportunities. Now, masterclass topics include future-proofing your business, mastering emerging technologies for growth, leadership dynamics, inspiring, engaging, and driving success, shifting tides, understanding evolving consumer behaviors and your bottom line, and young leaders' lasting legacies, mastering succession planning for future growth. Foster collaboration with other like-minded NAPA AutoCare members and store owners. Stop at supplier studios for training, visit AutoCare vendor partners, and finally, join us in celebrating 100 years of NAPA Auto Parts, along with kicking off the next 100 years of partnership. There will also be exclusive giveaways. There are many incentive opportunities to offset the cost of this trip, including AutoCare program earnbacks, and beginning in October, earn up to $1,500 with pre-show supplier training to prepare for the supplier studio training sessions. The NAPA Now event is a national ownership workshop for our valued AutoCare members centered around business building training from industry leaders. Now, it's not just about owning a shop, it's about owning your future. Join NAPA April 15th through the 17th, 2025 at the Venetian Resort in the heart of Las Vegas, known for its vibrancy, energy, and entrepreneurial spirit. Get ready to grow, connect, and celebrate. This is an exclusive event limited to the first 2,000 AutoCare members. Packages are going fast. If you're interested in attending, contact your servicing NAPA store or NAPA salesperson. Hey, let's face it, your shop management system is the single most important tool in your shop, period. NAPA Trax has made selecting the right shop management system easy by offering the industry's best, most comprehensive SMS. Now, it all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you need to run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice, and having local representation is a huge plus. Customizing Trax to your business, whether you're a one-person shop or a large multi-bay or multi-location company, a representative consults with you to help optimize your shop's workflow, efficiency, and profitability. Trax always has the flexibility to do business how you need to do it, which means it can also grow as your business grows. And unlike the other guys, will be there for you after installation with the best training and support in the business. Yes, a learning management system tailored to each role in your company. Simply put, Trax was designed and built for shop owners just like you. Visit us on the web at NAPA Trax, that's NAPATRACS.com. Hey, ever wonder how your labor rate compares to your market and state? You now have a site where you can confidentially upload your rate and see other labor rates published in your market. LaborRateTracker.com is an important site to know about. Currently, the database has over 1,000 shops participating and growing every day. But there's more to setting your rates than finding out what others charge. You should look at the labor rates in your state and town to gain a complete picture of the labor rate landscape. Hey, it's easy. Get market intelligence like never before at LaborRateTracker.com. I want to stop for a moment and collect my thinking here. As I told you about the story from last night, and these owners, shop owners, busier than all get out. I'm in there and I'm taking all the extra. And I keep thinking about their heads are buried in the sand because there's something that they just don't want to do or face up to as the leader of the business. I don't think they know what the P&L looks like. I don't think they know what KPIs mean. And we were kind of in that little bit of a discussion last night. I think they were interested in it.
Hated dealing with customer reviews. Hated it. It was the bane of my existence. I can tell you, there was an orange flag for every one of those emails that came into my inbox. I would promise myself I would get back to it at the end of the day, and I never did it.
Yeah.
I hated it. And here's the reality. That was the first thing I delegated out to my team, because guess who was dealing with all of those customers that were leaving those reviews? Was my staff, was my 4 service writers that I had on the desk. Well, guess who? It was more important that they look at that review, that they get that overwhelming positive feedback, because most of our shops are going to get 80, 90%. Most of them are 4 and higher star reviews. Who's it more important for them to see those reviews? The only time my people saw reviews was when they had a bad one. I'd go, hey, what happened to Mr. Johnson? He's all pissed off. Now, what do they think about the review process? It's negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I empowered them. I said, hey, you know what? I want you guys to start with the reviews. When a review comes in, if you were the one that helped the customer, I want you to reply because you're the one who knows everything about them.
Ownership.
Yeah. Now they're owning that customer experience even more. And guess what? Now, when they were checking people out, guess who all of a sudden just organically started talking about, can you leave us a review when you leave?
This is a great lesson, but for owners who have their head in the sand because they don't want to face up to the other issues that would make their businesses even bigger, better, greater than they currently are, because they don't want to face up to, I'm not built for that. And a lot of the stuff that great CEOs have to do is out of comfort zones. And I go back and I say this over and over again, broken record, you need an expert and or / a coach to help you and hold you accountable for the new continuous learning and education that you need. It's almost like you could call it CEO training / leadership training, but there's priorities that need to be set. I get all the numbers and I get all the matrices and all that stuff, house in order, cash counted for. But then there's that next thing. And there's too many people not wanting to expose the fact that I don't like to do that. And if I hire this person, they're going to force me to do something I'm uncomfortable with. And
there's so many avenues for it. So many different options for different coaching organizations that are going to fit your personality type. This industry it's
right.
difficult, right? What we do as a job is difficult. Fixing vehicles, nobody comes to us on a good day, right? Car's broken, I can't get little Timmy to school. Like nobody sees us on a good day. Nobody's like, yay, brakes. So this industry has this ability, and every hit you take tends to narrow that vision down, right? So to have somebody come in just like I did when I reached out to that mentor is to paint that outside perspective. Somebody that doesn't have any skin in the game, right? They're not feeding their kids on your P&L. To just go, hey, here's what I see, whether that's peer mentorship, like NAPA with their business development, with the BDG programs, or using a coach. Those things, it's that outside perspective that then helps widen that field of view. And that's going to really help you understand better where you're at. Because, I talk to shop owners all the time. I can see their revenue through what we do here at KUKUI. And very often the viewpoint that the shop owner has is very different from the reality of where things are. We hear that with shop acquisition. How often do we hear people that are buying a shop say, well, this shop owner wants X for this business, and is it really worth this? It's that same mindset, right? It's this viewpoint that just keeps getting hammered smaller and smaller, and we need to take that breath and open it up and say, okay, it's that reset. It's that unplug it and plug it back in kind of thing. That is one of the most valuable things we can do in business.
Yeah. Listen carefully to what Connor is saying, because he's been there and done that. But part of his job with KUKUI as the director of partner development, you told me this, Carm, I love sales. So I kept some little mini sales territory, and I go out and do demos. I find this fascinating for this particular reason. You keep your toe in the water, baby, right? And so while you're out there, do you see much positivity and change, or are you seeing some people that are just stuck in a bad place?
It's a mix, and it always has been. I think, we reference a pandemic so much, it's like a trope. But it, again, was one of those unplug it and plug it back in situations where we had to understand that there's been periodic resets, at least in my time in the industry, right? 2008 to 2010 was one of those kind of resets.
Mm-hmm.
That was like business from like the early 80s to that point was all pretty similar, right? Wasn't very customer focused. It was still kind of dirty and grimy. And we realized, hey, we got to step up our game to deliver for customers because we're going to become more of a commodity unless we do that. So there was a lot of changes we made in there. And then when COVID hit, it was like, oh, okay. The first reaction was, I'm going to have to bite, scratch, and claw. So let's look at everything we're doing because every dollar matters. I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody's going to drive their car. Then it flipped and car counts went through the roof and people didn't know. One of two things happened. They, one, weren't prepared and they closed. Well, I guess it's three things. They weren't prepared and they closed. And that happened to a lot of shops that weren't prepared. Two, their car counts exceeded their capability to deliver. So they might have made record profits. But then when those car counts that have now receded, they're hurt, and then they've been scrambling, or they've had to sell. Or three, they really got in, they looked at how to be agile. And that was one thing I preached with some of the outreach that I do, is make sure that you're in a position to be agile and proactive. What I think that the last really 5 years now has showed us is that we can't predict what's going to happen. And your ability to be agile is what's going to help you win. So it's not necessarily a stuck in the old ways or not embracing change. It's an ability to be agile. Change can be anything that it is. And it's everything from setting appointments with yourself to go through your numbers or go through and analyze your business. That's something that I had to do. People that know me, and you know me pretty well, pretty ADD-addled guy. If I don't set appointments with myself, if it's not sitting on a calendar, brother, it's not going to happen, because I'm going to go have a 30-minute conversation with that person on the counter, or I'm going to go get on a conference call with someone else. Setting appointments with yourself, analyzing your business, having vendors or partners that you can talk to that have outside resources to say, hey, okay, here's what I see. And I still do that. That's not my role in client support here. Like, I have shop owners call me, hey, let's look at your dashboard. Let's see what's happening.
Yep.
Let's look at it. Maybe there's something that I see that you don't. There's no magic to it. It's do you have the X's and O's in place to be able to run the plays that you want to put a sport in there?
I love your word agile. And I'm getting ready to do some episodes on quote, 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 market corrections. And I think we're all hearing that if we're in networking, coaching environments, coaching groups. And when I think about being agile, that is the ability to move quickly when you find an issue or your intuition's uncovering a problem. And, again, we're recording this in January. It's a typical slow time of the year. People are trying to figure out how they're going to pay for Christmas, and they're setting up, I can't wait for winter to be over, so I'm not going to do nothing. I'm going to be a mushroom. But when I think about going agile, my mentality says the words go deep. Now, you can be agile, but I also think you can go deep in your thinking and go deep in the things that maybe last year you never got done, or the things that you're seeing market pressure, market forces. I've got to be better at that. Okay, go deep, find out what you need to do and learn. You agree with the go deep part?
I do. Yeah. And what that will do is, as you're able to really get in and dive into these things, it's going to help you be able to be proactive rather than reactive. I hear this every day talking with shop owners, and it's my kid's favorite word, feels. It feels like it's busy, or it feels like it's getting slower. And we're hearing that, right? It feels like bay count's coming down. Feels are dangerous, right? If you're already feeling it at your counter, if you're already feeling it at the bank, well, guess what? You're probably 4, 5, 6 months behind. Yep. Well, guess what? These changes that you need to make, whether it's marketing or whether it's, within your organization, whether it's logistical changes, staffing changes, any of those changes, these take time, And so if you're already a couple of months behind, and then these changes take a couple of months, well, where did a good piece of my year go, right? So the ability to be proactive is really what can help turn the tide. And it's going to help you understand the market forces and how they are affecting you, because just shops are so unique. I see shops that are right down the street from each other, and they'll have massive differences, right? So just because, hey, this guy in my BDG is seeing this and maybe that's affecting me, maybe it's not. Do you have a way to understand that? Do you have a way to evaluate that? If not, who do you know to reach out to help you understand that, right? There shouldn't be, in this world of data that we're in, not having all of these points be able to be measured can be a dangerous thing. That's one thing we pride ourselves here at KUKUI, is compiling as much data for our KUKUI partners as we can. That data isn't really necessarily there for everyday use. It's for when it gets flinged into the fan, proverbially. Okay, let's look at it to figure out where we need to go. This is what guides us to where we're at, is that data. So we don't have to guess. We don't have to apply feelings, because feelings are emotional. And especially if it's tied to my revenue, it's tied to my family business, my emotions may steer me to a place that isn't going to get me where I need to go. Then we've taken that cycle that's already longer, and now it's even longer because I got to back up what I did and then go back to where I started. So data, being proactive, having the ability to look and chart how results are going, right? Look at trends over long periods. Again, this industry is going to beat you down, and you're going to start to look at things in the finite. This week, this day, this hour, these kinds of things. Hey, bring the view out and let's look and see where these things are going. And that's going to help. That's going to help you turn the tide much better, because you're going to, once you can see what's consistent, when it then becomes not consistent, then you will feel it, but you've got to measure that consistency to get there.
Got it. I love the word. I wrote the word trends down while you were speaking, that, and you hit the word. And a lot of times what data ends up showing you, oh my God, look at this. It's just terrible. Well, we've seen the, if you will, bell curves constantly moving. Look at the stock market, or look at what your sales looks like on a trend chart for every month of the year for the last 2 years. Don't think about what just happened in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Look at the trend chart and start getting a feel for your business, your marketplace. Heck, you could have just lost a great specialist in the shop, and you're not producing as much because you don't have the capacity. There are so many reasons to keep an eye on KPIs and numbers and data. But I also, it's okay, my thing is go deep, but go deep to understand, not go deep to worry yourself to death.
I mean, there's just a big difference between being busy and productive, right?
Yeah.
How you turn the tide from busy to productive is looking at these things and saying, okay, if I service X amount of vehicles this last year and I delivered this, how did I get there?
Yeah. Okay. KUKUI's a tech company. Web, CRM, texting, live scheduling. What do you see coming up on the horizon for tech?
AI is undeniable, right? It's looking to see where you can kind of responsibly deploy AI tools to create efficiency without taking away from customer experience. That's a huge thing, right? There's a lot of places where people have tried to deploy AI, and it can really quickly kind of go sideways, right? Because if somebody feels like they're talking to a robot, then they're not talking to my family business anymore, right? So that's huge, and that's undeniable, right? So it's not a question of if you're going to deploy AI within your business, it's how and what kind of impact you're going to have. In data and analytics, the more that we're looking at these technological tools to drive our businesses, there's pluses and minuses, right? Is one, you're taking something that was a manual process and you're automating it, which if it's automated well, and if it's deployed well, it can create a lot of efficiency. But if it's not, then it can be a bane. Looking at those type of efficiencies, I think where and how to deploy AI to benefit and not hinder your businesses is where things are going right now.
Yeah, a lot of discussion in a peer group that that I constantly hear about is using AI in particular pieces inside the company. Yeah. But the warning sign has always been, you gotta add you to it. And that's not the letter U, that's the person you. You got to add you to it. We, by the way, Connor and I had a pre-call on this thing, and we come up with 3 different episodes because of all these incredible discussion points that you're so close with and you're seeing in the industry. I want you to come back next quarter. Let's do something else. I love your perspective on things. You're great, tenure in the industry and what you see, and you're constantly out there. You're never home like me, right? During conference season.
That's definitely the case. I love being out and interacting with my peers, and I'm just blessed. I made the decision a few years ago to move away from the industry. I started a business with my former master tech, and then I kind of grew out of love with what we were doing, and I had the opportunity to kind of look back and say, okay, do I really want to go in and run shops? Do I want to open my own shop? What do I want to do? And KUKUI came up as an opportunity, and I'm grateful because I feel like I get to give back. That's why I try to be a student of these things, is if I could share something that maybe I would have known with somebody that was experiencing something that I was struggling with at some point, then I feel like I've helped, and that's something that I love that this company has allowed me to do. So.
Well, glad to hear that. It's very much along the lines of my passion. I keep thinking that there's 100,000 ears out there, or maybe 200,000 sets of ears that need to hear the kind of stories that we tell and that help people be more successful in their business and professional lives, which is why I think we cover so many diverse topics here on the podcast. Connor, Tracy, it was great. Love it. I have to have you back. I can't wait to see you out in the field. Director of Partner Development at KUKUI Corporation. A great episode. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, brother. We appreciate you having us.